All right, let's get started with today's webinar. Okay, so today we're going to talk about how Zycus doubled recruiting efficiency with AI and automation. Let's get started. So before we get started, I want to take the chance to thank you all for taking the time out during your workday to join us. And we love questions here at Sense. So anytime you have a question, you'll see a small Q&A feature in your Zoom panel at the bottom. Please drop as many questions as you want. We'll get to all of your questions in the end of the session. And don't worry about taking notes for this session. We're going to send you the recording of the session at the end so that you can go through it as many times as you want. Now, today's agenda is going to be a simple one. We're going to introduce Sense and Skillet. We're going to introduce our speakers, and then we're going to talk about how Zycus picks Skillet and how they use AI and automation across the hiring funnel. We're also going to talk about what ROI they've seen, what wins they've seen, and then we're going to conclude with a healthy Q&A session where you can ask all your questions from our automation experts right here. Right, so I'm going to take a moment to introduce our speakers. First up, we've got Anand Kumar, who's the Director of Sales at Sense. He is responsible for the revenue function here in Sense India. Next, we've got Sanju, who is the Global Head of Talent Acquisition at Zycus. Now, Zycus is an enterprise SaaS B2B software product that is in Gartner's leader Magic Quadrant and is also a global leader in end-to-end procurement solutions. Now, in his last 19 years of experience in the industry, he has worked with various technology companies like NICE and Persistent Systems in the past, where he's led recruitment and helped in building teams. He's also a Microsoft Dynamics certified consultant and has worked in implementing software and automating talent acquisition and HR processes at a wide range of companies. So thank you so much for joining us today, Sanju. It's wonderful to have you here.
Thank you, Akash, and thank you for having me here. It's a pleasure to be with you guys and talking about how AI can change the recruitment landscape.
Awesome, awesome. Before we start with the questions in the interview, we're going to have a quick introduction on what Sense is, right? So Sense was founded about 7 years ago in the US with the primary focus on the US market. They had the sole mission of building a talent engagement platform which can be used by staffing companies and corporates to streamline their talent engagement, help them engage efficiently, and in the process, enhance the overall candidate experience. Today, we've got over 800 customers and nearly 40,000 recruiters log into the platform on a monthly basis. Now, if you discuss how many hires Sense helps power, in 2002, we powered over 1.8 million hires, right? That's a huge number. We're a SOC 2 compliant company, which means we show that we are very highly committed towards security and data protection of our customers. We're also backed by Titan investors like Axel, Google, and Avatar Ventures. Last year, we raised our Series B from SoftBank in 2022. Now, let's talk a little bit about Skillet. Now, as you all know, Skillet is a Sense company. We recently acquired Skillet, and the reason was twofold. One, because of the really powerful product synergy that Skillet and Sense had. Second was because they gave us a nice, head start in the Indian market. So that's the two reasons for the merger, and we all know how Skillet makes your recruitment more faster, easier, and much more transparent, right? So we're going to discuss a lot about Skillet and its capabilities in the session today. Let's look at one final thing, which is our customers. Today, India is proud to be the home of 15 unicorns, companies worth over $1 billion, and 15 of these, over 100 actually, over 100 unicorns in India, and over 15 of them use Skillet, which is something we're really proud of. We have 200 plus customers, a lot of big names like L&T, Mahindra, Adani, AB InBev. They're all using Skillet today to power their massive recruiting funnels. So that is a little bit about Sense and Skillet. Now I'm going to hand it over to Anand to start the discussion.
Thanks, Akash. Thanks for the introduction, setting up the context, and definitely introducing both of us to the larger audience. Hi, everyone. Good morning. I'm Anand, Director of Sales at Sense India. And today I'm here with Sanju, and we'll have a very candid conversation about the entire journey before and after the product skillet, from when I'll say Sanju and the entire team has started using, etc. And what we have done is, as the form of template, we have kept certain questionnaire for Sanju, which I'm going to ask him, and obviously would love to have his expertise while sharing in this forum. And at the same time, I would like to hear from all of you in the questions, or can stop sometime as and when you feel so that we can take it forward from there. Because I personally believe that these webinars are the learning sessions for one another, what peers are doing, what industry leaders are doing, and accordingly, how we can replicate that in our organization in the current hiring practice. So thanks, Sanju, again for coming here. So let's start with, can you tell us a little more about Zycus and the offerings that your company has, so that the audience is familiar? Yeah.
First of all, Anand, thank you so much for having me here in this conversation. It is my pleasure. We are a world leader in source-to-pay software. Our software is an enterprise business application, and we try to solve the problems of a chief procurement officer. We're recognized in Gartner as one of the leader. We are about 1,200 people organization, and we do most of our engineering from here in India. We've got development centers in Mumbai, Bangalore, and Pune. And most of the time we would hire software engineers in Java, product management, marketing, and sales roles. And we use Skillet today to run our recruitment process. It's been a wonderful journey, Anand.
Thank you. Pleasure to hear that. Right. Thanks for sharing this information. Can you tell us a little more about Zycus global recruiting team? How big is it in terms of headcount, which geographies the companies operate from, etc.? Please tell us about some of the roles that your team typically hires for. And I believe because our audience there today, right, is from majorly the recruiting and HR team. So this will be of really good relevance to understand what we are doing with one another.
Right. So we are a team of about 20-25 people. Like I was telling you that we have our engineering centers here in India. So most of the time we would hear technical talent for our engineering team. Our product is built on Java, so we generally hire Java developers or maybe technical managers, engineering directors. We also have our implementation and delivery team here in India. These are the people, once we've sold the product, they help in implementing the product. So we hire for our delivery organizations roles like project managers, program managers, or business analysts and consultants. Since we, for our sales and marketing team, we hire sales executives, sales managers, regional sales directors. These are the primarily roles that we generally hire for. In India, we mostly do engineering and delivery hiring, and outside of India, we've got offices in US, and that's primarily our sales office. So we mostly hire our sales staff there. Outside of US, we hire in Australia, Dubai, Germany. In Asia Pacific, we hire in Singapore, Malaysia, Philippines. But outside of India, mostly we do sales hiring. So that's and in India, engineering hiring.
Right. So typically that's what we have seen, right? In terms of having the tech talent here in India, but the general business folks spread across the globe, right? So that's definitely out there, and the beauty of any SaaS business rely there. So great to hear. I'll just go ahead with, now in 2023, AI and automation in recruiting are no longer good to have. They are must to have. So I think now with ChatGPT and GPT-4 coming in, I believe it's a level player, etc. So companies are starting to bring automation across different parts of the recruiting funnel, which makes me ask the question, what part of recruiting funnel do recruiters want to automate next? So I think this is one thing wherein everywhere is automation, right? So I think would like to hear from your expertise, which area you want to focus on.
So I'm primarily I think so. If you look at the human resources landscapes, there is lots that artificial intelligence can do, but mostly I think uh, it's the recruitment problem and use cases that we generally would love to solve, because that's very very tangible, right? And when we started off, one of our biggest problem was you know people get a lot of applications, right? How do you find better candidates out of those applications? I think that was the use case that we started off, and that's how we started looking at Skillate, and to solve this problem. Zycus would probably receive thousands of web applications, and uh, my recruiters would need to clean up that pipeline, and they would take a long time to do it. That is where we used Skillate. Yeah, when you talk about what next can happen, well, there is various other things that can happen, but I think one of the problem that software organizations can development organizations can start solving, is uh, how can you provide candidate intelligence, right? One of the biggest problem that we have in India, which most organizations are struggling with, is to predict which candidate is going to join and which candidate is not going to join. So that's a problem that I think artificial intelligence can definitely solve. There is a lot of data in the internet available, and if you're somehow be able to predict the engagement level of people that we've offered, and then give this insight to organizations saying that candidate A is highly engaged with in comparison to candidate B. So therefore, the probability to join, for candidate A is much higher. It's going to be a wonderful problem, wonderful solution that software organizations who are working in developing softwares for recruiting and HR can help in solving for us.
Definitely, Sanju. I think I'll just extend it to the larger audience. So we all can relate to the fact that what our customer data says, around 57% of the resumes that we receive as applicant via careers page, job board, staffing company, etc. 57% of those we have never seen. So imagine a scenario, we are just bullying on the remaining 43% of the profiles that we are screening, then interview scheduling, and then finally joining. With our AI engine, as said by Sanju, we are stack ranking the candidates in descending order so that you can focus on the best 10 automatically. So this is one thing that I believe has helped a lot of our customers, and that has been explained very well in this discussion. And Sanju, the second part, which you said is offer to joining ratio, I believe this is where strength of Sense. So Sense has a product called Engage that comes into play, right? And we are trying to solve exactly this problem for US as a region. And now we have to replicate that in India. So I think this acquisition has just happened, and we are merging these two products and building a strong product suite, which can be launched in India. But yes, for the larger audience and definitely you, we have a strong product, which is Sense Engage, catering to exactly this problem statement, and can discuss at length what can be done and what cannot be. So I think with this, I believe one poll has already come up on the screen. Which part of the hiring funnel do you plan to, I think, what does your team plan to automate next? Please, the larger audience, just click and submit it so that we have something as a reference to show it to you, what the entire pool is thinking about. Akash, please let me know once it is done so that we can continue.
Yes, we have 50% participation. 15 out of 30 participants have gone ahead and answered the poll. Waiting for a few more answers.
I'll take 10 more seconds and then we'll continue.
The question is really interesting, Anand, because I think most organizations are trying to focus on one, if not one, then most of it. I think attracting, screening, assessments, offer rollout, post-offer, onboarding, right? These are the processes that I think most of us would really like to automate. But let's see what does the audience say.
Definitely. So I think if you can see here, right, this is the kind, so that's why it was multiple choice and a person can add many. And these are the kind of responses that people feel here, right, where they want to automate next. Thank you. Thanks, audience, for taking the active participation here. I'm just continuing with the flow. So, Sanjay, your team at Zycus was using a different 8 years earlier, right? I think different platform earlier. They are a leader in the recruiting tech industry.
Exactly.
But what made you to start looking around for an alternative? What were the top 2, 3 reasons that you want to highlight to a larger audience, being a global platform that you were using earlier to something like Skillate, right? I think would like to understand that part well.
So the product that we were using, I mean, the adoption of the product was fantastic. So when I was looking at what next, one of my biggest challenge was, will that become a problem? Because now whatever product that we're using, the adoption was really, really 100%, right? But then we had certain challenges with the product, which was, for example, like I said in the beginning, right? We were not able to search inside, right? The search was limited. I mean, there weren't a lot of filters, and often we found that if we are trying to reach out to candidates on LinkedIn and say, hey, here is a great profile that we have, when we come back to our recruiting ATS system, all right, we would find that the person has already applied. So we realized that there is unnecessary a lot of effort that the recruiter is putting when we have the candidate inside in our system. So it became very important for us to have a product, where which can really help in mining and searching the database. The second problem that we wanted to solve was where, like I would see in the candidate pipeline that there are like thousands of applications. When we post jobs, we receive many applications, and so when I would ask my recruiter, what are you doing with those applications? Why aren't you moving fast on them? They would say that, I mean, to clear this 1,000 applications, it could take me a week's time, right? And so therefore, we wanted something which could help us in mapping the candidate with the job, some way of intelligence, so that instead of going one by one, like candidate 1, 2, 3, right, you somehow have an ability to, out of those 1,000 candidates who are the best match fit profile, look at those candidates first, and keep moving those candidates forward in the process. This is another problem. Third problem that we want to solve is, this was around the time when we had hit COVID, and virtual interviews had started. Right? Everybody wanted to do virtual interviews. The problem that we had with the current ATS that we were using was it was not integrated with Microsoft Teams. So we had to, we had to use the workflow in the ATS to set up the interview. But because it was not integrated with Teams, recruiters needed to send another invite through Microsoft. So it was always a double work that they had to do. So I think these were some of the things that eventually we wanted to solve. And we looked at several products and in the market that is in today. And we inquired about Skillate. We spoke to people, for example, at Sofa Styria. In fact, I was interviewing a recruiter, and he was using Skillate, and I was able to get a lot of insights about how the product is, and then I think we decided to go. I am very happy to say that we are pleasantly surprised. I think Skillate's helping us do one thing, which is improve recruitment efficiencies. And I think as we talk through, I'll give you more examples of what we are doing using Skillate.
Thanks a lot, Sanju, for this. It really helps not just me and feel motivated about the product that we have built, but also the larger audience who is there understanding the piece, what exactly was there. Because I think a lot of our people who are attending the call will be on that cycle that these problem statement is resonating with me, right? So somebody's on my Outlook, somebody's on G Suite. We have not been able to integrate with Zoom, we have not been able to integrate with HRMS, etc., right? So, and this type of clarity really helps the larger audience who is there, and will definitely go deep into our offering, which is my question next. So today we are talking about how Zycus has doubled its recruiting efficiency using AI and automation. I'd love to go across the hiring funnel and learn how you are using AI and automation at each stage. Let's start at the top of the funnel, the way you have taken, and talk about shortlisting candidates for a new open position. Today, when Zycus posts a job, you get thousands of applicants, as said by you, from different channels. Now, going through all those manually is incredibly time consuming. So, how does your team use AI and automation to perform this task quickly and more efficiently?
Anand, well, there are several things that Skillet offers, which we are able to use. First of all, let's talk about posting the job, right? So when you post a job, there are customized questionnaires that you can have. These are screening questionnaires, which a lot of people would say that I think most ATSs provide, or whenever you're posting a job, you can always have a screening questionnaire. But the beauty at Skillet is that you can actually search inside those screening questionnaires by creating custom filters. So what I have today is all those questions, right, can be part of the search filter, and you can search inside those questions as well. This is one. Uh, and let's suppose you've created those questionnaires, right, and people are applying to you, right? You have searched inside the database using keyword searches, various filters that that is going to be available for you. The next thing that you want to do is maybe you have now looked at 10, 15 people. You really want to spend some time with them, but if you are pressed with time, there is another beautiful thing that you can do, which is you can have a video chat box. So we are able to select those people and send an invite. Candidates are able to record a 1-minute video and submit those responses. And I'm able to find that I've actually used that in many of my senior roles. In technical roles, it might be difficult because if you try to hire a Java developer, right, you want to see how the person codes. But however, let's suppose you want to see what is the communication skill. These recordings really help in understanding. You can hear those 1-minute video and you can say, oh, communication skill, good, bad, you want to move forward. In senior roles, for example, we ask questions about what is the impact that you created, right? So that 1-minute answer is able to tell me a lot about what has the person done, and I can decide, oh, I want to talk to this guy for more, like, let me set up an interview with this guy. So these are really advanced features that Skillet provides, and we're able to use in the top of the funnel.
Great to hear, Sanju. Right. So I think perfectly you have answered each and every bit in a really good way. So I think while talking to a customer, what I hear is a lot of process inefficiencies there in interview scheduling. So let's discuss another area. There's high on inefficiency in the recruiting cycle, which is scheduling interviews and subsequent rounds. So how does Zycus go about using automation for this process in particular?
So Anand, I know that Skillet provides a way to match calendar and schedule those interviews. Unfortunately for us, it has not worked so well, primarily because it was very like, so what the feature provides is you can book time that is comfortable for you, and interviewers time is also available. But somehow it goes in a loop. But what we have been able to use is because Outlook is integrated, Office 360 can be integrated. So if I have to schedule an interview with my interviewing panel, I'm able to see slots that are, I can actually see on my Skillet the slots that are available, and I can actually block the slots, right? So that is the piece that we're able to use. However, in fact, we are actually thinking to utilize this interview scheduling feature for recruiters. All right, a lot of time what we do is most of the recruiters would pick up the phone and talk, right? But there is another thing that we are measuring is how many people are you talking to in a daily basis, because that's the top of the funnel. To be able to do, we're asking our recruiters to set up interviews, not just pick up the phone and talk, but set up interviews through Teams or Zoom. And we feel that this is a feature, the feature of automatic scheduling can be utilized to be able to solve this problem.
Awesome. Awesome. Right. So I think there are two ways how we typically cater to this problem statement, right? So we understand about interview scheduling is that there are three stakeholders. One is definitely a recruiter, a candidate, and a hiring manager, a hiring panel, right? So getting everybody on the same page, on the fly, anything happens. So some candidate is not there, that we have seen random faces, then the hiring manager just got stuck with his or her schedule, etc. So all of that, and because the moment you're dealing with humans, then all of that definitely happens. So how we are streamlining that one, as said by Sanju, the UI itself, you have the calendar, and you can definitely block some of the tentative timelines, right? And accordingly block the calendar with the HM so that they can make it happen. Second is with the help of a bot, wherein automated engagement is happening from both the stakeholders. So, but one great insight and useful information from Sanju is how he's trying to leverage the same tech with one of the core problem statement that Sanju is focusing on for his team. So really good to know, Sanju, about this particular use case. So now let's go next. I think what we have seen that typically in your case of organization, it can be even 30 to 50 offer templates. Sometimes I've seen in one company, which is a unicorn, having 109 different templates of offer letters, right? So that's insane.
Right.
Managing a team of, right? You have to have a team of people to have 109 templates of offer letter, although it's just small variants. So let's talk about offer creation. Like many of the large companies, Zycus obviously has a complex structure because of geographical presence, because of the hierarchy, etc. You hire for a variety of roles across different levels and locations. Each role can have different skill combinations and varying pay packages. And you also measure them against varying KPIs based on their global business. So generating offer letters for hundreds of different jobs can be a complex task. How do you use automation to help your recruiters do this or deal with this?
Anand, rightly said. I think it's a very, very tedious process. If you make mistake in the offer letter, it can be not so good for the organizations because it's your terms and conditions of employment. And if you do it manually, there is a large chances of error happening. So I think before we onboarded on Skillet, I mean, there was of course a process. We've been doing it for the past so many years. So we had automated, Excel templates which would generate a letter. But our problem was we needed to have one person who can actually generate all these letters, right? Especially during campus seasons, right? So campus, you make hundreds of offers. It was really painful because there's just a vast amount of offers that you have to generate. Uh, so before onboarding onto Skillet and automating this process, I had my recruiters doing it. So the only way to be able to maybe fasten the process of getting the offer letter out to the candidate was not to depend on just one person, but also to enable the recruiters to be able to generate their own offer letters. Because with this volume, if you depend on one person, there is delay that happens. So I had gotten my recruiters trained and how to generate the offer letters. And for each team, I had said, okay, this person will generate the offer letter. The problem was the person who would generate the offer letter would say, this is not something that I want to do. I don't want to sit down and generate offer letters for the entire team, or it's counterproductive. I might as well, be there looking out for candidates, talking to candidates, bringing candidates in the pipeline funnel. And often my time would also go in reviewing those offers. So it will come to me for signature, and I would be very particular about every clauses in the letter. I have to check if sometimes I'm just too tired, exhausted, I didn't pay attention. There will be always some or the other wrong statements or something that that would creep in the letter template. When we started configuring offer letters, first of all, I was very what is the right word to use, anxious, right? Is it the right thing that I'm doing? Are things are going to be able to solve? But today, I think after having used it for about a year's time, I feel very confident. We feel very happy that my team says this is the best thing that you did by automating. Today, what we do is we have several templates. Of course, there's we don't have 109 templates, but we have 35, 40 templates, right? Each of these templates have got some different terms and conditions. Templates for campus, templates, for lateral, different templates for leadership, different companies, different sub, so all of this is there. We're able to go put the information, right? What we want, grade, title, salary. The based on each template, the software is configured in such a way that can generate those terms and conditions for that template. They can also generate the salary breakup. In certain cases, we don't even have a breakup. Like if with an offer letter in the US, it's just the figure, right? So all of this is managed dynamically based on the template, and all that the person has to do is select, do everything, right? Send the offer for an approval, goes through the approval cycle, whosoever has to approve 1, 2, 3, and the entire letter is in front of us. What's beautiful is I now don't have to go and check every like clause, right? And so I just go and say blank, sign, 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 sign. Right. All I do is I check, okay, the salary is good, the grade is what, right? It has been approved, right, by the right authority. And if it is approved, I just sign it.
Really, really great to hear, Sanju. I can understand if somebody is at your stage, right, in your shoe, how difficult it is to go through each offer letter line by line. And thanks to this product, which has helped you take a breath while signing the offer letter, right? So this is to the larger audience here. What we call ourselves as a offer letter generation smart offer letter module, wherein what we do is imagine a scenario. There are two candidates, one and let's say joining bonus, or right, first candidate, you're not giving a joining bonus. The moment you'll enter a field of joining bonus of let's say 5 lakh rupees or 1 lakh rupee, right, then automatically that entire paragraph will come for candidate 2 only with the same template. With the template with the same template. If you're not entering that parameter, then for candidate 1, that entire paragraph is out. So in this way, you are minimizing the template that you have, but at the same time, you are catering to the different requirement. So this is what makes us as a differentiator in terms of offer letter module, so that we don't need to maintain 109 templates, but definitely can have many less variations and catering to all different problem statement that we want to cater to.
I also want to add another thing. The other thing is, let's suppose I want to make some modification in the template. There is one clause, suddenly we decided to change the clause. We don't have to depend upon your engineering team, right? So we don't have to go back and say that, okay, there is an engineering effort or development effort. It's configuration. So if the admin is trained in how to do it, right, they can download the template, make the changes in the template, upload it, and you're good. So no downtime. My biggest happiness was when I was able to get 100 offer letters signed using your template and without anybody involved. I was actually able to reduce one headcount. There was one person whose job was to only generate offer letters. I think that's the success story that we have about offer letter generation through Skill.
Phenomenal, great to hear, right? And it's always about bringing in efficiency in the system, right? So that how we can focus on the larger use case of the problem statements that we are catering to. So great to hear this, Anju. I'm just going ahead. So by now, sourcing, matching, shortlisting, screening, scheduling, you have gone ahead and automated the most time consuming and inefficient areas of recruiting to bring in greater efficiency and speed. This is really great and amazing to hear. Now let's talk about the current time. Let's take a moment to talk about today's hiring market. We are seeing thousands of layoffs across the country in all possible function, all possible company, all possible industries, specifically in tech, wherein even the biggest of the biggest companies like Google, Facebook, etc., we have seen these kind of things. And there is a gold rush to hire this freshly available talent in the mid to small set of companies which are continuously hiring. So this is a very decisive time for recruiters everywhere. So Sanju, has your team noticed any trends among these professionals who have been affected by these layoffs?
It's a paradox, Anand. So on one side, every morning you wake up to a news, XYZ company laid off certain number of employees. You would say that, okay, because of layoff, right, we have been able to hire faster, or there is a better joining ratio. I think that's the paradox. I think India Incorporated at some point of time doesn't feel that recession is going to hit. There are certain pockets in which there are layoffs happening, but the demand is huge. I think as an economy, there is rampant hiring also that is going on. Mm, there are organizations who are affected because maybe startups who haven't been able to secure the funding, right? And there are places where things are slowing down a little bit. But on the tech side, especially on Java as a technology, in which we operate, we haven't seen a lot of change. At this point of time, the only thing that we see is people are a little cautious about making a move, right? They are thinking whether should I, like I've been here in this organization for some time, I've proven myself, should I take that risk and jump to the next organization? And that's why they're being a little cautious. Sales and marketing is where I think it's been a little easy in terms of hiring. There are a lot of companies who reduce their headcount in sales and marketing, and so there are people that are available in the market. So you get an opportunity to choose from several good candidates. Zycus is an organization who hasn't laid off its employees, and we have only been hiring and growing our team, so which is a good news. Most candidates who interview with us have this question: okay, what is the outlook? And we talk to them saying that we are a we are a software company, and we are a software which helps in saving cost for organizations, right? And at a time when there is economic downturn, organizations will work towards cost efficiency, and so therefore they end up buying more. They, our customers, they end up buying the software that we use because we allow them to see where are they spending, how can they optimize. And so as an organization, we have sold better during difficult times, right? When COVID hit, we were able to sell better. So we always decided that this is a time when we're going to hit and press on the pedal, right? The markets, people are sensing the market's really not good, but for us, it's a good time to hire better talent, good talent got in the market. So therefore, you would see even in our jobs, and in our career space, there are several openings that are present. We're hiring across the board, and we're not slowing down yet.
Yeah, really, really great to hear. So this is my personal feeling too, that after working with some of the large conglomerates to some of the startups to some of the mid-tier companies, but we have seen that the biggest of the biggest companies have stopped hiring or have laid off few people. And the reason primarily for that is at the time of COVID, etc., they have overhired because of the business that were just booming up, which currently is not in this digital world. But with a lot of mid-tier companies to startups, which definitely is continuously growing, they're not stopping to hire, right? So you imagine thinking that yes, it's very easy now to hire an SDE3 guy or an engineering manager. That's not happening anytime soon, right? So the struggle is still on from the recruiting front, how you can recognize. So at one point of time, we hear that, okay, this many people are laid off, but at the same time, once we think in the market and go in the market and try to find that talent, the striving is still on. So completely echo with that, Sanju, from that front. Now let's go ahead. My team also tells me that you are an incredibly hands-on Skillet user. So I think this piece is more about Sanju and his making the hand dirty attitude to make it happen. And that you like building parts of the recruiting funnel yourself. Our customer success people tell us that you know the product as well as they do, maybe even better than them sometimes, because you like to go deep and get technical. And obviously, I'll combine with the expertise and experience that you have in tech industry. So for those of you who are new to Skillet, the platform lets you build a highly customized hiring plan. You can set up stages and customize what happens at each stage, what actions that need to be taken, at what stakeholder needs to do, etc. So Sanju, you have built a special workflow to engage the candidate post making an offer. It also helps predict the probability of candidate might like to join. Can you tell us more about this workflow? I think many recruiters would find it incredibly inspiring because of the amount of effort and thought that has gone into it.
Yeah. So Anand, I think we in talent acquisition, we use ATSs to run our business to see where is the funnel, what is happening. Uh, and because our ATS, like skill, it is the source of truth, right? It becomes very important for a recruiting leader to really understand the tool that you're using. Like, if I'm using a gun and I don't know how to fire, right? Just keeping it in the holster is not enough. And I need to be able to know how to use the gun a lot, right? So that is where I ended up researching a lot about how do you execute this, and that helped me in figuring out how I can make use of the software better. Today, and the second thing is our leadership team, including our hiring managers or in fact our head of the departments, are very hands-on on our recruiting system, but because they use the recruiting system to see, right? We do not send any resumes on email, right? Everything has to go through an ATS. Every feedback has to come on ATS, right? We do not take feedbacks on emails, so that everybody is able to see what is actually happening. I think that's one of the reason why even it became more important for me to really understand the software so that I can show it to people, train my people, and when they come up with an issue, I'm able to understand. You spoke about a very configurable hiring plan. Yeah, so that's a really interesting piece because uh, often, I mean, the hiring plan is the step or the process that a candidate is going to go through. Often, recruiters might find that, okay, I have step 1, 2, 3 for a particular role, but when you're hiring for another role, there could be a step 4, right? Some ATSs have this very tightly knitted, saying that this step is configured at, I don't know, at a very deep level, and you cannot make a lot of changes. While at Skillate, you have a very high level milestone that you can create. So like phone screening has one milestone, interview has another milestone. So we can actually see data as to what is happening on interviews. But however, it gives the recruiter also a flexibility. Let's say job, create a round which is very customizable and flexible. So for every job, if you want to change and change a little bit, add one extra step in between, you can do that. And therefore, you don't have to get out of the ATS. Now, the problem as one of the problem that we had was how to ensure that we have a very good joining ratio, right? In the last couple of years, because the way market behaved, we had to really aggressively work towards conversion of our candidates. And to be able to do conversion of our candidates, we did a lot of things. Like, for example, we hired one person whose only job is to engage with the post of a candidate or candidates that has been offered, and we call this onboarding specialist, right? And like all the other organizations, we would also do coffee catch-ups, meeting with leadership team, uh, and regular calls and follow-ups with recruiters, right? uh, but it was very difficult for us to see what is, if you have defined a workflow, once you've offered, this is going to happen. Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, during this 20, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days of notice period that the person is solving. Now we wanted to figure out how is the person engaged, all right? What is the engagement level, and what is the predictability of that person to join. The way we solve in the beginning, we would like download a report and then put columns and in Excel and put together. Okay, this person was last contacted by this recruiter. This was the journey. This was the feedback. This is what we spoke about. And with when we took Skillet, we were able to configure in the hiring plan a workflow after we make an offer certain steps. For example, we had a step created saying that uh, has the person resigned. So we were able to track the person resigned on this date, all right, and we are able to attach the resignation email with the person got. Then let's suppose the coffee catcher meeting happened, the hiring manager met with the person, there were conversations, right? So uh, what is the hiring manager saying, right? How is he rating that the person is asking questions, is really interested to work with us, is going to join? What is the probability level? So we asked the hiring manager to rate the interaction on a scale of 1 to 5. Then recruiters are contacting and talking to the candidates often. So we record when was the last date the recruiter contacted, what is the rating that the person is given, and like in a like a blank field, what was the conversation about. And then our onboarding specialist is speaking to them, right? Continuously, we're sending gifts, onboarding gifts, etc. So when was the onboarding gift sent, right? What is the rating that the onboarding specialist saying? At the end, we are able to say, take an average of all the rating and then say what is the probability of the person to join. I think this is an insight that we are able to use, from the from Skillate, and it is helping us and figuring out where do we need to spend more time, which is a candidate which we think is a little dicey, and we need to engage with the candidate more aggressively, or who is the person, like if I have to predict how many people are going to join, we're able to do it. That the Although there are like 10 offer accepts, all right, that are going to be joining on the month of April, but I think only 5 are going to join because the engagement level and and the probability to join is less in this other 5 people.
Great to hear this particular piece, Sanju, because frankly, surprises are something that we want to avoid, right, in this particular circumstances. But unfortunately, there is no other way out, right? If we can solve that problem by having predictability, this really makes sense. So I believe Sagar has asked a question. So Sagar, I'll take the last one from my side, and then we'll take yours. So I believe, Sanjay, this is more of an opinion from your side that I would like to hear.
Yes, Anand.
So a recruiter puts in great efforts and care to hire a candidate. We know how hard this is, especially today in such a competitive job market. Very often, onboarding flows are usually placed on an HRMS suite and not an ATS. So, what do you think is the right way ahead? Do you think onboarding flows to be on the platform or should be on the HRMS suite that the company uses? Is more about your experience and your point of view rather than anything else to the larger audience.
So, if you look at the entire journey of what happens after we make an offer, most ATSs, the candidate is sitting for the next 30 days, say, or 90 days during the notice period. And when do you pass the candidate to an HRMS? All right, this is like on the day of joining. You probably have a button or a step called hire the candidate or make the candidate join. And even if you integrate to an HRMS, this is the point when you put, push candidate data to an HRMS. So when do you essentially need to engage, right? That's right. It's after you made an offer to the point when the person shows up on your on your door. And if you look at this piece, then it makes sense to have certain pieces of onboarding in an ATS system. That is, for example, you want to share, you want to share some material about your organization, or your organization has done something great. So good things to be able to let your candidates know this is what your company is doing. And you were trying to organize a coffee catch up or a high tea with them. So all of this stuff is candidate engagement before joining. And if you logically look at it, if you do this in an recruiting ATS software, it makes more sense because your candidate data is there, right? Now, the other piece of onboarding that people talk about is documentation. So your candidate is now ready to join. A week or two before, your HR operations people is going to say, "Hey, hi, your joining date is XYZ. Can you send me this document so that we can fasten our hiring process and the document collection process?" Uh, that is a piece that can actually be integrated, right? If you have a very excellent onboarding software, or not an onboarding software, for example, an HRMS system, they can do it. But if your data, candidate data is already sitting in an ATS, then you can use the ATS and then transfer the candidate data to HRMS, integrate it, and then the HR onboarding specialist is able to see all the documents that is there, right? And press this button which says create an employee, right? So before hiring, I logically feel that it should be within an ATS, and and then the information should be passed on to HRMS, where HRMS, you say create an employee, and every data that is there suddenly flows to an HRMS, and employee record is getting created, and the journey for an employee within the organization starts from there.
Thanks for this point of view, Sanju. Right, will be of meaningful of time. By the time I'm taking Sagar's question here, this is to the larger audience, right? So the panel is open for the discussion or the question from any of you, and all of you would love to hear. You can ask in the Q&A section, and we'll try to pick as many as possible. So Sanju, one of the question from Sagar Apte is, can you please let us know the parameters taken into consideration to derive a probability for a candidate to join?
See, there are several things that is happening in this space. Right? A lot of organizations are trying to do and looking at this problem with many different lenses. The way we did is, we said that what is your touch point, right? And during this touch points, every touch point, right? How are you going to measure and rate the candidate's probability to join? And as we move forward, right, we're just doing an average of all this, all these ratings that we get in, uh, and then looking at this information, and saying that yes, this is how X is the number, or average number that the person is going to join. See, one of the first thing that you need your candidate to do is, the moment they accepted your offer, you want the candidate to resign, right? And if the candidate is resigning after 15 days, you definitely know that this is somebody who is thinking on your offer letter. And so if I get an offer from any company and I'm really excited about it, the next thing I'm going to do is, I'm going to go to my office tomorrow and I'm talk to my boss and say, boss, I'm resigning, and please start my notice period. So that's one checkpoint that we have. Has the person resigned, right? And if the person resigned, has we collect the resignation email at some point in time. As we go through, you will get a acceptance with the last date. So we also try to check if if you've received that acceptance with the last date. During the course of time, there are several meetings that is happening. You are calling them several times. So every time, if you rate, okay, this is the engagement level, you will see how things are going. If the candidate is thinking about, okay, my data join is approaching, what is the next step? Or if you see the candidate is following your site, and LinkedIn pages, and commenting on certain posts that your company is doing, right? Or commenting on posts that your life at ABC company is doing, and you know that they're looking at your company, right? They're always trying. So most of your engaged candidates are always going to be telling you as to what is happening. They would tell you, hey, I resigned and my resignation is accepted, or right, this is a conversation that they'll always keep you updated about what is happening. Vis-a-vis somebody who is just taking an offer and still shopping for some another offer, they would still stay a little silent about it. And you will be the one who will say, have you resigned? All right, what is the conversation? What is happening? Have you found your has the company found your replacement? Also, this is going to be the difference between a highly engaged candidate and not so highly engaged candidate. A lot of organizations are actually going a few steps beyond, and are also tracking, and also is using marketing automation to track. You've sent an email about the company to a candidate. Has the person read it? Right? How much time has he spent? Right? So are they actually reading materials that you guys are sending? Right? So these are some of the inputs that you can get to see actually whether your candidates are engaged with you or not, Sagar.
Great. Thanks, Sanju, for this. I think Kriti Agrawal has asked another question, which is, if someone has just an ATS and nothing else, what is the first thing in the hiring funnel that they should automate?
So, Kriti, in my opinion, it is going to be, what is the problem that you're going to solve? What is your organization's problem? All right. what is that thing that pains you, right? ATSs are softwares that help you look at how many positions you have, where are your jobs, how many applications you have. They're able to give you a lot of report to see how your hiring funnel looks like, which is your recruiter, which is actually working hard, who is more efficient, right? What you need to automate in the hiring funnel depends on what problem you're going to solve, right? If you have a problem of plenty where you say, okay, there are a lot of people who are applying to you, then you want to really figure out how you can screen through all these applications faster. If you have a problem where you say that, okay, I don't have a way to see, how are the interviews going, right? What is happening, who is in what level, then you need to focus on, setting up those levels of interviews in the software and asking people to use the software to give you interview feedback, right? Often we have a software but you don't use it, right? So if your interviewers are not giving feedback in the software, you're not going to get the information that so many candidates had gone through an interview in this week, and so many were selected, so many were rejected. So even if you have a hiring KPI called selection ratio and you have an ATS, you're never going to be able to give an answer to this question, what is your selection ratio? But if your adoption is so high that people are using and you're ensuring that every hire, once you've interviewed, the feedback is coming, yes and no, which recruiter has done, you can actually even see, figure out which is the interview which is giving you a better selection rate, or which interviewer selected a candidate but did well in, after joining you. All of these insights can be available only when you're using the software. What should automate depends on what is the problem you have, what is your biggest problem in your organization.
Uh, Thanks, Sanju, for this. Right, I'll keep mindful of time. So Sagar has asked one another question. I'd also like to know how Zycus aids my organization to identify infant attrition and flag future possibility of attrition. I believe, Sagar, this is about employee engagement, right? So wherein somebody not as a candidate journey, but an employee journey, wherein somebody is already working with you and how you can flag possibility of finding out the attrition piece. This is not something that the company Skillet Sense does. So this is more about employee engagement perspective, and there are ample products and things out there in the market, but not something that we offer as a product or services. So anybody else, anything would like to hear? Otherwise, we are just 1 minute left and is on time. Thanks, Sanju, for giving us this opportunity to share it with the larger audience. Thanks to everybody who has attended, specifically Sagar and Kriti, who has come forward and asked some of the questions that would like to share. Anybody else, anything would like to understand? Otherwise, I'll just take a pause and close the session today. Thank you. Thanks, Sanju. Thanks, Akash, for arranging this. Thanks, everybody, for attending.
Well, Anand, thank you so much for having me here. I think it has been really wonderful working with you and your team. And Akash, thank you so much for organizing this session. Thanks for all the hard work that you did to make this possible today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sanju. Thank you so much.
Bye, everyone. Have a good day.
Bye-bye.